The BMR Super Saloons were joined by the TinTops, including a selection of drivers with our friends over at the WRDA at Mallory Park on the 13th of June 2021. Qualifying saw local track expert Jos Ronchetti claim overall pole position in his incredible Class C Talbot Sunbeam. Rod Birley was near the front again and had qualified in second position and first in class, but would miss race 1 due to a broken rear differential which happened in the modified Ford's qualifying session. Some of the fast cars and drivers within the WRDA lined up near the front of the grid, as did Andrew Mackenzie in his Class A V8 BMW M3. He was just ahead of Paul Watson in his Class B BMW M3. Both of them would end up being the first drivers within their class on the starting grid. Dave Charlton was the top tin top in his incredible Class T1 Seat Leon. The other class leaders within their categories, Steve Everson in his return to tin top racing with the CMMCS, taking over Marcus Bicknell's Citroen Saxo, who had gone to Class T3 pole. Ahead of Warren Johnson in his Class T2 car, Chris Birley was in pole position in Class TP, and then within Class D it was Jack Whitehead on pole position in class. And unfortunately for Steve Dan, he was a non-starter after his gearbox failed almost immediately going into the qualifying session at the start of the day. The cars and drivers would head out for their first race of the weekend just after the lunch break at Mallory Park. Unfortunately, the first rolling start had to be aborted and they went round for a second attempt, and Jos Ronchetti would storm off after the red lights would go out and take a lead that he would never give up. Mackenzie and Watson had a great duel throughout the race and they got better of Davies. A lot of the drivers were taking to the Mallory Park circuit in their cars for the first time ever, some of them having never driven the circuit before the qualifying action earlier on in the day. But you couldn't tell that. There were some fantastic battles throughout the field, a really enjoyable watch for all of the spectators that managed to come and watch trackside. It was a great battle between the two BMWs near the front of the field. Mackenzie and Watson had a great battle that lasted for the majority of race number 1. Both of them managed to get the better of Davies, but all three of them ended up quite close on the timing screens by the end of the session. John was having a good race in 5th position. It was a little bit lonely, however, big gaps in the end in the cars in front and the cars behind. And Charlton was the top tin top at the end of the race in his rapid Seat Leon, continuing on the fine form from qualifying earlier on in the day. Mark Cripps made up some really good positions in his BMW, up to 7th position by the end of the race. But unfortunately for him, the race would be cut short after a spin by Whitehead. He ended up stopping on the track. That brought out the red flags, and inevitably the end of the race there followed. This was a real shame for a lot of drivers throughout the field that were having fantastic duels. One to pick up in particular was Ken Angell, Johnson Everson, and the Welshman Colin Dunn and Martin Scott. All of them having a fantastic battle in their completely different machinery around this tight and twisty circuit at Mallory Park. Unfortunately, the result was declared after just 8 laps, which was about half of the race distance we expected for race number 1. After a great duel in the first race of the day, we spoke to Andrew Mackenzie. He won Class A second overall in his fantastic BMW V8 M3.
We had a good race in race 1 with some of the cars around me. There was a Davrian, I think, out there going very quick, and another BM who was very quick, and it was touch and go between 3 or 4 of us. I think it was effectively second place or the class first place. Actually gave me a trophy for winning the class, which I wasn't expecting. Nice to get that on the second race. Of course, Rod Birley had issues. I'm sure it would have been a different ball game at the front if he'd been there. He might be there for race 2, so we'll make that exciting.
And after a busy race 1, there was some time before the second race of the day to look around the paddock, even for the drivers who of course were focusing on that second race. There are some fantastic cars within the paddock. We were sharing the paddock with some of the classic challenge cars, of course the Intermarque silhouettes from the other side of the CMMCS. Some old single-seaters, some motorbikes, the modified Ford series, also the MGC CM Metro Cup. and a few other classic cars. It was a really incredible paddock to be a part of. I think many of us enjoyed just walking around that and enjoying the lunch break. But let's get to the second race of the day, and let's have an onboard perspective from Paul Watson, starting in third position on the grid in his Class B M3. His first place in class on the grid, but of course he'll be looking to try and go even higher in the overall standings. Race 2 saw Rod Birley return to the circuit in his Ford Escort WRC, joining from the very back of the grid of course after not competing in race number 1. His work was cut out after the race distance was once again reduced, this time to only 11 minutes. He started in 26th position on the grid, but this is notable, a fantastic drive through the field, 19th by the end of lap 1, then 14th, 11th, 9th, 7th and then 4th by lap number 6, a fantastic drive in his Ford Escort WRC. But out front, once again, Jos Ronchetti had a fantastic control of this race, who took another fantastic win in this fantastic Talbot Sunbeam, and hopefully we'll see him back out at some point in this season. Then for second position, there was a fantastic battle between Watson and Mackenzie. Both of them were leading their class, but for lap after lap, nothing could separate these two cars around this unique Mallory Park circuit. Both of them having their slight flaws and advantages through certain parts of the track. It was great to see them swap positions continuously throughout the second race of the day. On the penultimate lap of the race, Watson made his bold move to claim second position overall. He also would win Class B and Mackenzie would still win Class A. A fantastic battle between these two guys in their BMWs, different generations, different quirks about their cars, but around this Mallory Park circuit they were separated by basically nothing. Ronchetti's performance was even better considering his car is only a Class C within the Super Saloons, and Rod Birley, as we mentioned, climbed all the way from the very back of the grid to finish 4th position and 2nd position within Class A. After that we had the recovering Davies, followed by the leading TinTop, this time Ken Angell. He managed to get the Class T1 win and be the last driver on the lead lap in his BMW. A great drive from him, and once again winning the T1 category. He's got the most wins in T1 this season. Behind him we had Gareth John, and then we had Cripps and Dunn. Great battle between those three once again. Everson, another fantastic drive in his Class T3 Citroen Saxo, outperforming some faster machinery. He was very close throughout that race with Vic Hope in his T2 Honda Civic. Hope managed to win the Class T2 class after the demise of Johnson early on. Scott would round up the top 12 in his BMW M3. Another notable performance was Chris Birley, once again taking the win in Class TP. Notable that within the 3 rounds we've had of the TinTops so far this season, we've had 3 different double winners within Class TP, so that's going to be an exciting battle to see how that continues throughout the rest of the season as we go to Cadwell Park, Brands Hatch, and then the following races to end off the season. Unfortunately for Charlton, after winning T1 and the TinTops in the first race of the day, he would have turbocharger issues which unfortunately saw him drop through the field. Thankfully for him, he still managed to make the flag. Another great and notable performance within the TinTops here at Mallory was Angelo, the Brazilian living in Tunbridge, driving in his first ever motor races. He was in Steve Everson's orange and black Citroen Saxo. He had some impressive drives, especially in race number 1, and that drive possibly was the reason for him taking the Driver of the Weekend award. Fantastic to see him out there, and we'll hopefully be seeing him very soon out on track. What a fantastic day of racing here at Cadwell Park. I'm going to hand you over now to Steve Everson, who won Class T3 twice today, taking up 2 trophies on his return to the CMCS after a couple of years out.
I've only driven Marcus's car twice, once before and today, and it's got a few bits and pieces on it which my little car hasn't got, which Angelo's driving today, but yeah, no, it goes well.
What a fantastic day of racing here at Mallory Park. We thoroughly enjoyed our time here. A very, very hot day, but the cars were bulletproof. Most of them got to the checker flag, and it was fantastic to see so many drivers enjoying themselves out there. We are returning to action with the saloons and the TinTops at Cadwell Park on the 25th of July. Hopefully see you there. Before then, we do have some action at Brands Hatch with the CMCS Intermarque Silhouettes. They're supporting the American Speed Fest at Brands Hatch very soon. So I'll see you there. Thank you for tuning in.